Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and hello to the gang. We got Foxy, we got Pinkerbell, we got Looney Tunes, the Anti-Corporatist, Aaron W. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see y'all. I don't have a very, I don't even have a very long show for you. I just have so many things that decided to happen while I was out that I want to talk about. Donald Trump's fortunes have overall waned considerably. That the word I'm looking for? What's the opposite of wax? They've gone down considerably. Even though he had some recovery on the recent judgment against him, Republicans are fleeing, and on the way out, they're whispering, "Jake was right." We are beholding the beginning of a good era, wherein most of our efforts are going to be taken repairing the damage done from the very bad era that we are escaping. And we're not even there yet. We haven't even escaped it yet. We got an election to run here. We have an election to win. And we have to win by the kind of margins that will allow us to actually get things done. Because in America, winning as a lefty is not enough. If we ever want to change that, the only path that exists for us is to win by tremendous margins. An absolutely staggering amount. That won't happen all in one election, truth be told. It's extraordinarily unlikely. But that can happen as a trend. That can happen over the course of a couple of elections. So I'm going to go over the current state of things and talk to you a little bit about where I think long term we need to be headed, and then tell you what we can do now, all the way to the running across the finish line, to make sure we win this race. Start with Trump. Donald Trump had a close to $500 million judgment against him. Which case was this? I believe that was the fraud case. You know, the one tying to his businesses. Duty as a citizen, his absolute failure to pay taxes. That case. Of course, in the face of a hiccup, the U.S. justice system rushed to help him, and they said, "Well, we know you're in the poorhouse now. So what we'll do, even though you have been nothing but disrespectful to the judges and really anybody involved in holding you accountable for your actions in any way, even though you've spat in the face of decent folks that follow the rules. What we're going to do is say you only have to pay $179 million that you owe, pending appeal." Now, ask yourself honestly if you think he's going to win this. I don't. I do not. So, he will have to pay eventually. He has been given a chance, though, to dump that $200 million into the various races he's trying to run. But good news further. He has complete control of the Republican Party. We've seen this person. We have seen this person running all sorts of businesses, including casinos. He does not know how to do it. He's simply not capable of honest success. he's not even capable of dishonest success. So the actual amount per case doesn't matter as much because it is so far beyond what this guy is actually going to be able to come up with. Long term, he's, long term in Trump minutes. So the course of the summer. I don't view the new judgment as being a very big setback. The folks who actually are worth a damn, their souls are probably damned. They are not good people. But the folks in the Republican Party who actually have some competence and could do anything at all other than be elected representatives, they're leaving. Ken Buck started it on his way out the door. He said others will follow. I think he mentioned that 5, 3 it might have been. Others have followed. We haven't got the full 3 yet, but it's worthy of note that currently, with the people who are leaving, not just the Republican Party, but politics in general, the House Republicans are at a 1-seat advantage. It comes down to it. Between their scandals with George Santos, who, by the way, now says he's running as an independent and will work as a spoiler candidate, they're down to 1 seat. Look at the advantage they lost. Do you remember the last speaker vote? We were 12 behind. They were 12 behind. Or excuse me, we were 12 behind. Now we got to get one more vote than the other folks. So it seems as though doom is coming for the Republican Party. The people who knew how to run a good long-term scam are being chased out by the people who only know how to do smash and grab robberies. Like Ocean's 11, if it was all that monster truck guy. It's going to end ugly. And we have to work hard to make sure that the ways in which it is also destructive don't spread to the rest of the country. But it's the same plan as it is for anything else. It means vote blue. It means limit these people's power as much as humanly possible. Now, when we move on, when we go from demons to devils, if you're a D&D fan, when you go from the chaotic evil to having a lawful evil enemy, we're going to be trying to get progressive policy passed through, hopefully, a House and Senate controlled by Democrats. And realistically, even then, not a progressive House and Senate. We're going to need to pressure these folks. Yes, we'll have to, deal with the fact that we may have a Republican Senate. God help us. We may have troubles galore. But even, I say, in the best case scenario, we have to steer our representatives. That's just the reality we live in. They don't. First of all, they're not mind readers. Second of all, they are constantly being pulled at by the forces that persuade everyone in power. I heard recently that America is referred to outside of America by those who study these things, not as a democracy, but as an oligarchy. That's what we've been calling it here on WYCD for some time. So understand that it's us versus the oligarchs competing for the attention of our representatives. That's what an oligarchy comes down to. It's not that there aren't representatives out there claiming to represent the people. It's that the people have to contend with the oligarchs for their representatives' attention. If we say we're in an oligarchy, if you truly believe we are in an oligarchy, you have to plan accordingly. You can't, it's not enough to just be offended by the idea. Your plans should reflect that. It also doesn't mean that we accept it. It just means know thy enemy. There is a way we can increase the pressure on our representatives. Tinkerbell named it. Called the polite pressure protest. Here's what I'd like you to try doing over the next couple of months. Seek out 2 or 3 like-minded individuals, people who agree with your politics in your area. That could mean going to the DSA, the local DSA, that's Democratic Socialists of America. Could mean going to any hippie-style group you can think of, anybody who's politically interested. Look for social media groups. If you don't have an organized chapter of something near you, look for social media groups in your area. But get in contact. Or if you have friends that are willing to do this with you, just get 2 or 3 friends. You don't need that many. Your goal, though, is to represent an idea in the flesh. Go to your representative. Ask them. In fact, you can inform them that you'll be there ahead of time. But go to their office when you know they'll be leaving or arriving. Here's the thing. You can do state level, you can do national level. If they're national, it's much less likely that you're going to see them because they're probably in Washington most of the time. So state will be easier. But nonetheless, look in for your local representative for when they will be leaving or arriving at their office given day. You can do this by looking at their schedule, which is frequently posted, or simply calling and asking when they'll be there. Go with 2 or 3 friends outside of their office. And here's what you do, as represented by my friends from Left Past 10. You ask them if they intend to support something you intend to support. If they disagree, if they give you the runaround, turn your back and have your friends prepared to turn their backs when you say nothing else. That easy. Have another friend in the position of the camera there, filming the thing. This is all you do. Representative X, do you plan to vote yes on this upcoming bill that will X, Y, or Z? Protect trans folks, or put in reasonable gun reform. If you want yes and they start to give you a long-winded answer about why their answer is no, turn around. If they say yes, or no, or whatever it is you want, if they give the answer you want, say thank you very much and shake their hand and leave. Because that's all you're there to talk about. You say thank you, you shake their hand, and out you go. Plan to do it again and again and again with every vote of consequence that you become aware of. Do your part and try it once. Just once. This is election season. These people do not want to be embarrassed. Such a thing as that would be extraordinarily embarrassing for them if it goes against what they say they're all about. If, for example, you had a massacre in a school in your state, they got up and they pretended to give a damn about dead kids, but they also have a A+ rating from the NRA. There's your opportunity to embarrass them. There's your opportunity to hold them to account. That's called the polite pressure protest. Use it. It's the way we counter the money of the oligarchs. That money doesn't get them elected just by existing. It pays for commercials. It pays for staff to come up with ideas. It pays for people to walk around handing out flyers. It pays for the sort of things that you would be doing with that protest. You'll be making it clear what side they're on, and you'll also be affecting what side they're on. A lot of people are real brave, hypothetically. But in the crunch, when eyes are upon them, they change their tune. They become much more practical, much more humble. Those are your representatives. They're real patriotic. They really give a damn about you, hypothetically. Or they're real greedy, hypothetically. But when a scandal arrives at their door, they are going to rethink their allegiances. And they see that the people have power, and they see that you're smart enough to know that there's an upcoming vote, and that you will tell others how they voted, and you will take the time, theoretically, to explain to others what it was they were voting for, and that you are not listening to their nonsense about why they voted for something evil. That will change the way they behave. They will not want to weather that too many times. Called the polite pressure protest. I definitely recommend you give it a shot. Again, you only need a couple of other people with you. It would be incredibly impactful if you could get 100 people to wait out there with you. And if you have 100 people waiting out there with you, I want to be clear. This doesn't change. Just imagine that line of pixel art, folks, goes back for 98 more. It's still the same pattern. Not everybody shouting. You either turn your back on them or you don't. And they do that based on watching you. Watching you up there. Because you're not going to be shouting. And the elected representative is not going to be trying to address the whole crowd. They're just going to be talking to you, and it's going to be real simple. Yes or no, how are you voting? Give it some thought. I think it's a useful method of protest. The anti-corporatist. Wait, did Jake just say he's joining the NRA? No, I am not a terrorist. And I don't like dead kids. Oh, I'm not joining. I would have. I'll tell you this. Back during its founding, in its early days, I would have. Once upon a time, the NRA was dedicated, at least in theory, to literally to responsible gun ownership. That's what it was all about. Basically, gun nerds who didn't like people who treated guns like toys. And so on and so forth. But when Wayne LaPierre, I mean, it was on a downward trend for some time. It took on Oliver North, for God's sake, Charlton Heston. But it crossed in my mind to a child killing organization when Wayne LaPierre took over. May he rot in the lowest pits of hell for what he did here on Earth. I got a critique for progressives that I want to throw at you guys. I almost did a call-in show about this, just so I could show you an example of what I'm talking about. Here's what I was going to do. I was going to ask you to tell me good news. I was going to ask you, somebody calling in, to try to please me with a piece of information. Literally anything. You could lie if you wanted. Literally anything. Tell me I won the lottery. And I was going to react like I see progressives react to anything. Let's say a caller did say, Jake, you've won the lottery. Well, I won the lottery. I bought this ticket. It's for $10 million, but I want you to have it. It's yours now. I would have said, that would have been a lot more useful yesterday. Oh, I could have used that in 2020 and got Bernie elected, maybe. How dare you? If you told me, Jake, I like your tie, I'd say, so you hate my shirt and jacket. My God. You know, that's just exactly the sort of thing I'd expect to see from a patriarchal I'm not even going as far as to say that when I hear things like this from progressives, that they're wrong. That's the tricky thing. They're not wrong. Case in point, I saw people, when it was announced that the U.S. was going to drop food into Gaza, I saw people complaining. That was the first thing the most progressive people I could think of did. They complained about it. What was the complaint? You can't drop enough food that way. That was followed by the Biden administration saying, going to build a pier and we're going to ship in shipments of food by boat. The next thing I heard progressives say to that was, well, this shouldn't be a problem anyway. The problem is that Israel is stopping the food trucks from going through. Why is this even necessary? And the thing is, they're right. And the thing is, the Biden administration is supporting Netanyahu. He's giving guns to these people who are slaughtering civilians with them and starving the population and blocking food trucks from coming through and making it necessary to do the airdrops, to do the pier building. They're right. But progressives, whether we like it or not, as a group, as a political group in the United States, came from the Democrats. That was, at one point in time, the most progressive, realistic group that you could join. Because even things like the Green Party didn't they didn't actually get any laws passed at any point that I'm aware of. They didn't get anything done. So coming from the Democrats, I find that we have taken on some of their worst traits. We are allergic to victory. And that I will not have carried forward into the progressives' political future. I won't have it. We need to be cold enough to accept the B+, then yes and it. Oh, the fifth column. recently discussed this in a wonderful way. I thought, saying that you should take a lesson from the the improvisational comics and yes and things. I would like you, as folks I consider to be largely progressive, to consciously do that. If you're objecting to something, ask yourself if you're doing it because it's important that this thing be blocked, if it's good strategy, if more good will be done by the thing being blocked, or if you're doing it because you don't know any other way to react to information. I see too many people who are afraid to be taken seriously. They're afraid to be appeased or to be bargained with. Imagine for a moment that you're Joe Biden and you love, apparently, getting brown people killed, but you prefer they die by explosion and not starvation. That's, from what I can tell, who Joe Biden is. And you know, at the end of the day, no matter how many times you shake up the numbers and look at it, you need the progressives. Some of them got to vote for you, or you do not become president again. You try to appeal to the progressives one way, and you get a wave of negative responses. And you have a whole nation of opinions to consider. In fact, you're not even Joe Biden. You're nine rungs down on the chain of command. You're somebody who brings information to Joe Biden. Every time the administration does something to try to appease the progressives, you get negative reactions. What's your strategy for getting reelected? I'm not trying to tell you this is right or wrong. I'm trying to talk turkey with you. What's your strategy for reelection? Your strategy most likely is trust that the progressives will have no other choice. Don't waste energy trying to appease them. Don't anger any other group trying to appease the progressives. Because you can't. Because it's an infinite well that you will never fill up with there is no amount of policy you can pour into it. Make progress. I don't even know. I don't even think actually that that's true. I think if Biden suddenly had unanimous peace in Gaza and enacted, was able to negotiate a two-state solution, and both sides were happy, and he nationalized the railways, I think, yeah, he'd have progressives happily voting for him, or at least being willing to admit they're going to vote for him. But realistically, that won't happen. Doesn't have the ability. Realistically, we have to try to sway this person. So I'm not telling you to be satisfied with imperfect solutions. I'm not even telling you to cease striving for perfection. But the way in which we get there is destined to fail. Just too inefficient. There is no reward for those that try to work with us. I don't have a perfect solution other than to steal bows and say yes and. That's the best I've heard. If you have believed to be a perfect solution, let me know. I'll read some out in a moment. But with using the example of the food deliveries, when you have people starving, even though it is our country that helped cause it. The worst thing I can imagine doing is discouraging the leaders of this country from trying to fix the problem in any way. And yet, I saw progressives out there on the same side as MAGA for entirely different reasons. I like when that happens in the interest of getting the oligarchs depowered. I don't like when that happens towards a cause that will cause children to starve to death. I think that's progressives being foolish, frankly. And I think we're better than that. MAGA's not better than that. MAGA are fools through and through, but we are not. And I think we have the decency, the strength to self-reflect and become savvier. If we're going to take this bitch over, which should be our intention, we intend to live in the roughly the same climate that we grew up in. We have to. So if we're going to do that, we got to be ice cold sometime. We got to be smarter in addition to being more noble than the rest. What do you guys think? John, whoa, I'm way off. Ooh, Groove Dragon, more good news. GNN reports California redwoods to be the first national park co-managed with a Native American tribe that used to own it. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And John Bailey, you're saying, am I hearing this right? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but if you're referring to me critiquing progressives, here it is in a nutshell. We need to learn to yes and the B pluses we get from political groups we disagree with. I think progressives are better than every other political option out there. I think the philosophy is better, but I also think that culturally we have inherited from Democrats the losing strategy, not even the losing strategy, just the expectation of loss. I think we're. You ever see? I know horse racing is frowned upon these days, and I no longer attend horse races because I don't believe that I should support the treatment of race horses as it currently stands. But once upon a time, I went frequently because I was living in ignorance. You ever see horse races? You don't want to run a medium speed horse in a fast horse race, even if you get the opportunity, even if you think there's a chance, even if it's a muddy track and your horse is used to running on muddy tracks. And the reason why is because if a horse loses too often, it gets used to losing. It starts to run in the middle of the pack by default. That's progressives. Rather, that's Democrats. That's what the Democrats became. I don't want that to be what the progressives be. I want us to be the leaders. I want us to win every race by several lengths. But this attitude of poo-pooing, literally, anything that breaks our way is destructive. It makes us seem like we don't actually care about these issues and that we're just looking to argue. And that the people of Gaza are no more human to us than they are to the other groups that use them as props. If we're unsatisfied, no matter what, then we're also unserious. Satisfied is perhaps a poor word, because I don't think we should be satisfied until there is an absolute ceasefire and a permanent solution, keeping these people safe from Israel, frankly. But We shouldn't. It alarmed me deeply to see us angry that food was being given to starving people. David Mendez. Hello, I'm well, thank you. Well, hello, David. I hope you're well. Oh my God, you're a psychic. That's delight. It's excellent to have a psychic. Oh, thank you for hitting that thumbs up. Oh, John Bailey, it is my pleasure. And let me be absolutely clear. This is the main takeaway from today. The polite pressure protest. This is how we turn candidates who think they might be considering being more centrist into progressives. This is how we make sure in bright blue areas. Oh, every time. Anyway, this is how we do it. If you want to know what that's in reference to, watch a little bit earlier in the video, but I'll give you the breakdown. You only need 2 or 3 friends. Show up. Ask your representative, whether they be state or national, at their office, which will be publicly listed for you to find. Ask them if they're going to vote for a specific thing in the way you want. If they give you nonsense, turn your back and have your friends ready to turn their backs or not as you do. If they're going to vote the way you want them to vote, you shake their hands, say thank you very much, and you all just leave. That is how I think we pressured them. Folks, thank you for joining me. Good Lord, it cannot be. Okay. Pitchforks Dragon. Oh, back to driving. Fair enough. Pitchforks Dragon. I find myself being purity tested by fellow progressives. And quite frankly, if I fail someone's purity test, I'm glad I don't have to deal with them anymore. Yeah, I understand the feeling. I don't blame. Like, I think I know where this culture came from amongst progressives. And it's because we've been lied to very frequently, specifically by elected leaders. Think about how many times you saw people go up on stage and say, "I'm going to do XYZ progressive things." And then they turn around and they just act like Republicans. Think about Obama saying, "Oh, change is here," but we were never quite clear on what it was, and then change was not here. The polite pressure protest is, funny enough, a way to help that. That is going to have more of an effect on incumbents because they vote. They can vote on these things. That means you have a lot of opportunities to pressure them. That means when you watch them, you have the ability to follow up. They know it. Follow up. They do good, give them an attaboy. They do bad, make a scene. If they lie to you, my God, if they lie to you. It's how we can pressure them. But I know what you mean. I think culturally, and I look to you now for the answers here. I think culturally, it will behoove us plan for being a bigger tent than we are. Once upon a time, you could have called me a centrist Democrat, and I would have called myself, in my utter ignorance, a libertarian. I don't think I ever really, I never considered voting that way. Let's say this. But in turn, like reading what the principles were all about, in theory, yeah. Look where we are now. I think a reminder of the bigger picture will help us. I think once upon a time you had black folks fighting shoulder to shoulder with folks that would have treated them unkindly back home to defeat the Nazis. You know, we understood there was a greater evil. I think being crystal clear about the fact that we have the same interests broadly means that we can learn to be more polite and understanding about the things wherein we don't have the same interests. I don't have anything more interesting for you folks. I wanted to return to the live show. Not even sure if I'm going to cut this up. I wanted to say hi. Left past 10. It's on tomorrow. I look forward to that. I am indeed working on things, but look, if you guys have been watching for a while, you probably know that I am not good at keeping secrets. I can't do it. I don't have, it's not even a matter of like honor. It's or like guilt and I don't have the savviness to keep a secret and to remember that a specific detail is secret. So I can tell you only that I've been working on things that are fine, and I'm proud to work on. But I've agreed shall not be associated with a public YouTube channel wherein I express political opinion. Not a permanent thing, but I do feel it's important, and I want to do it. So that's what I've been doing. And that's all I'm going to say because it's all I trust myself to say. It's not even that interesting, truth be told. It's only interesting because I'm so cagey. Sorry. Back to No Subterfuge shortly. Left past 10 tomorrow. Thank you for joining me today. This has been WYCD Wicked. It stands for what you can do. My name's Jake. Foxy's right. It's a fight club.